feel like I've forgotten how to film things and speak on camera. I'm Jack, this is Spread Book Joy, and today I'm doing a video because I haven't done one in a month, and I keep saying that a lot lately. I keep going off and coming back, but life just gets busy, and I'm all about making sure that Booktube works for me. There's been a lot of chat lately about how to make Booktube work and why people quit, and my personal thoughts on it. I've done a whole video on why I'm still doing Booktube, even though, like I said, I haven't been here for a month. But the last video I posted was my 5th year anniversary celebration video, where I talked about the fact that being what I call a moody booktuber, as in following my mood and posting videos when I feel well and able to do it, is what keeps me here on Booktube, and not being worried if I have to take a break, or worrying about the algorithm or the numbers, that kind of thing. And that's why I'm still here, because if I did worry about my schedule, my this, my that, I get overwhelmed and I just wouldn't be here. So I did that. That was my last video. It's been like a month. I went on holiday. It wasn't a huge long holiday. You probably think I've been on holiday for a month. I haven't. I came back to a very busy start of the academic year because I work in education, and therefore September is a really, really busy month. So October is still busy. Still quite a lot of busy going on, but I really need to get back to making videos because I miss it. I miss chatting to people, and I kept thinking about where to start with the videos. Shall I catch you up on what I've been reading? Shall I tell you about what books I've purchased recently? Because I've been buying a lot of books, which is crazy, because I keep saying, I don't want to buy any more books, and then I end up buying some. But I did buy some on holiday, and I bought some fantastic, brilliant books in a local independent community-run bookshop. Because I don't want to go in there and not buy a book. I feel if I go into an independent bookshop and I browse, I'm going to buy. I'm not going to just go in and browse and not buy. I'm happy to go in and browse and not always buy at Waterstones. I know Waterstones needs to make money as well, but I feel they're a chain. But if I go in and to an independent bookshop or a secondhand bookshop where they're reliant on us buying and not just looking, I will buy. So I've done a lot of book purchasing on holiday, because Falmouth, where we were on holiday, has some amazing bookshops. So I might just do a video on recent books and bookshops I visited, and recent purchases and bookshops I visited and stuff like that. And I might do a bit on Falmouth, because it's just a lovely place, Falmouth. If you've never been, it's in Cornwall in the southwest of England, and it's a lovely harbour town. One of the deepest harbours in the world, as it turns out. You get a lot of big cruise ships pulling up there as well, but it's not like a destination, I think, for big cruise ships, because it's not like, when you go to Bruges or those sorts of places and they're overrun with cruise ship people. It's not like that. It just happens to be where they kind of pull in, and they've got like a dry dock there, and they've got some, you saw some ships in the dry dock being, I think it's called a dry dock. I feel I get that from Star Trek because I'm too much of a Star Trek fan. But basically, where the ship is in like a big thing and you see the whole ship being repaired. But Falmouth itself is beautiful. Cornwall, of course, is beautiful, and the bookshops in Falmouth are wonderful. And I'll do a little video about Falmouth and my trip there, and show you the books that I got and talk about the bookshops, because if you go to Falmouth, I'd advise you to visit all the bookshops there. They're lovely. So that's what I've been doing, and I thought, I could talk to you about what I've been reading. But it feels like that would be I don't know if it would be a very long video. I've not been doing a huge amount of reading, but I'm always reading. But sometimes it takes me a while. Sometimes I might finish, I've got 5 or 6 books on the go, and I'll finish 3 in the space of a week, and it looks like I've read 3 books that week. Well, actually, I've just finished 3 that week that are on my current reading list. But I've also been putting a lot of books down and pausing them, because I'm trying to follow my mood when it comes to reading as well. But I suppose I could just tell you what I'm currently reading. That might make life easier. Currently, I'm reading the Barsetshire Chronicles by Anthony Trollope, Book 2, Barchester Towers, or Barchester Tower. Is it Towers or Tower? Anyway, for some reason it's going out of my head. But I'm reading that as a buddy read with Pat from Book Chat with Pat. Pat and I have been reading. I feel like we're going to go on and read more of this. I hope we are, Pat, because we are both loving our time with Anthony Trollope. The Warden we read together a few months back, and we decided we were definitely going to read the second book for Victober. And it's just delightful. I don't know why I've never read any Anthony Trollope. I have to thank Katie from Books and Things for championing Anthony Trollope. She loves Trollope so much, and that really kind of made me think, I've got to read some Anthony Trollope. And brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Love the humour, love the style of writing. They're just these wonderful character-driven stories about this town that is, you know, where there's a cathedral and all the people associated with the cathedral. Yeah, just delightful, very funny. I've laughed out loud quite a bit. I'm also currently reading, shock horror, I'm reading a new release, Elodie Harper's Boudica's Daughter. That got released, I think in September. I got a copy from the library. I can't believe I got it because I had to put it on hold and it came through quite quickly. And so I'm reading that. So far, not blown away, I have to say. I loved the Wolf Den trilogy. Elodie Harper wrote the Wolf Den trilogy, which was a trilogy of historical fiction books set in a brothel in Pompeii, and loved those books so very much. And so I was really excited to read that she was doing her reimagining of the Boudica tale. And so far I don't know how far I'm through, about a third of the way through, and it's okay and it's readable, but I'm not blown away. Like, I got sucked into the Wolf Den like you wouldn't believe, and I'm trying to figure out at the moment why. I think because she's telling the story from the perspective of the daughter, which is first person, and it's interspersed with third person limited chapters from another perspective, first from Boudica herself, and now it's going to be well, I won't spoil it for you, but I find the chopping and changing of perspective, I'm not falling in love with the characters the way I fell in love with them in the Wolf Den. I think that might be it. I don't know, but I'm going to finish it because yeah, it was such a good, she wrote some of my favourite books in the last few years, so I'm going to finish it. I'm also reading How to Take Smart Notes, which has been on my Kindle for so long, and it is wonderful. If you do any academic writing, or if you are one of these millions of people who's pursuing a personal curriculum at the moment, which is such a lovely kind of very romanticised way of doing some learning and, you know, setting out like a university curriculum for yourself. There's loads of people doing that, and I've been loving those videos because obviously as a teacher and as someone who works in education, like the higher education level and at school level, I am all for people doing some personal learning, and it's kind of made me kind of want to focus my own learning, because I read a lot of non-fiction and I like to find things out, I like to learn new things, and it's kind of made me think, well, maybe I should just do it as a kind of like a semester at university style, like a unit of work kind of thing. So you set yourself a little reading list and you decide what your aims are about what you want to learn, and you might set yourself like a mini essay to write at the end of it, or if you feel like doing that, or you might, if you're a YouTuber, you might make a video. So yeah, it's really fascinating watching all these people do that. And so what I decided to do was work my way through some of the books I have on writing that I have not yet read. And How to Take Smart Notes is a game changer in terms of thinking about how to make sure that note taking is active and relevant, and that it actually feeds into your thinking, and yeah, to see how all your notes might be related. And yeah, it's really fascinating. So if you've never heard of the book, or you've never heard of a thing called, I think it's called a Zettelkasten, or as some people call it, a second brain, it's a really fascinating concept of how to keep notes. And I'm looking into it more with an eye as an educator as well, and this idea of writing being an act of learning in itself. So yeah, really good, really good. Highly recommend. I've got a load of books that are paused at the moment as well. I've got a load of books from the library that I need to read. I've got a load of books that I've recently bought. So I will chat about all those things in separate videos so that it's not a 2-hour video of my life in the last month. But I am going to answer some tag questions. So this is kind of a little catch up and then ease myself back into Booktube and a tag video. Gareth has produced a tag, the Hitchhiker's tag. So I'm going to do that today because I did say to him, I really want to do this, I'm going to do this. And I've seen other people do it and it is lovely, because the thing about tags for me is they have to, they tend to be about things that I talk about quite a lot, and that some tags get repetitive, so I tend not to do as many. I love to be tagged though, so please just keep tagging me. I may or may not do it, but please just tag me, because if it's an interesting tag, I will endeavour to do it. And I think a tag's a nice way of getting back into this booktubing thing. So I'm going to do that today. All of the other stuff, my finished reads, recent purchases, I will think about how to put videos out about that at another point. So I don't want to keep you too long on this one, my first video back for ages. But the first question in the Hitchhiker's tag is, Prompts: demolishing your house, because of course Arthur Dent's house is demolished in the opening chapter, and then Earth is demolished. Spoiler, it's kind of the start of the book. What book would you look for first to save from the demolition if my house was being demolished? Well, I did think about, I don't want to get any of I would save all of my books, of course, but you can't do that. So I was trying to think about books that I couldn't replace necessarily. So I'm just going to put my tea down. So I would go for my childhood books, because I can't just pick one. So I'm going to have to talk about several. So I would talk about my childhood books, which are very, very precious to me. And we talked about this a bit on the live stream when we were chatting to Dave and Gareth, and talking about the fact that these are my some of my favourite Enid Blyton books, like from when I was younger. Look at that lovely 80s cover there. Wow, look at that. These are some of my favourite books of all time when I was a child, and they're precious to me because they were gifted to me by family members, and I loved them so much, and I read them and reread them and reread them because I didn't have a huge number of books as a child growing up. My mum and dad would always try and get us books. These ones I was given as brand new, so these were really precious to me. And this one particularly, we were talking about the fact that even though I have like Kindle versions of the Mallory Towers books, and even though I've got audio versions of them and I listen to them as like a comfort listen, I really wanted to read my physical copy from when I was a child, and I loved this so much. I read this series. There were 6 original books, and these are the final 3. And I read these before I read the first 3 because I was given this as a present one year, and then I went out and got myself a copy of the first collection of the first 3 books. So this is very precious to me, and it's still a comfort read for me now. And I recently just had to get my copy out and read this because they're just the tactile experience of your own childhood copy. I don't know, there's something about it, something really precious and lovely about it. And equally, I would also save my copies of the Narnia books. Look at these. The reason these are looking so old is because these were passed down to me from my middle brother, who is 9 years older than me, and he won these books according to my mum. I don't know if he remembers this, but he won them at school, and he loved them and he read them to death, and then he passed them to me and I read them to death. And the Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe is probably the one that's fallen apart the most, because it hasn't even got the I'm going to cover that up there, it's his name on it, but it hasn't even got the front cover on it anymore, and it's just falling apart. I ended up buying a copy that's very similar to the original, which is here. I saw it very recently, this one, and Prince Caspian, which is I think my favourite of all of them. This is the Prince Caspian version, and I found a version of the exact same kind of edition very recently, in a library sale, secondhand bookshop. I can't remember where I found it, but yeah, so these are very precious to me, even though I don't read them anymore because they will just literally fall apart, like they'd probably turn to dust. So but they're so precious to me as objects. And then the other thing that's really precious to me, there's 2 that I can't not talk about, because this is my signed Terry Pratchett, and it is to me. He signed it to me, to Jackie, no worries. I used to get called Jackie a lot, and then I realised I didn't like it. And I didn't get Terry Pratchett to sign this. Unfortunately, I never met the man. I was the science fiction fantasy buyer for a branch of Waterstones and the sales rep from the publisher. So Doubleday's the imprint, and I can't remember. But basically, his publisher, the rep, got me this. And he got it signed to Jackie, because that's what everyone called me at work, because no one likes to say Jacqueline. I call myself Jack on here. I've talked about this in the past before, because I don't mind Jack, and in fact I really like Jack because it's a bit more friendly. I love Jacqueline, I love my name Jacqueline, but no one calls me that apart from my parents and my brothers and now my students, because I've adopted that as a professional way of, like, when I speak to students now, I'm Jacqueline, I'm not Jackie anymore. I hate Jackie. I got Jackie a lot when I was younger. So, but yeah, so the only thing that's upsetting is it's to Jackie, which is what the rep told him to sign it to. But yeah, so I've got that, and I've got a signed Stephen King, which, because he came and did a book signing at the Waterstones branch that I worked at. So I met him. and he signed a proof copy. I was too busy at the tills serving people, and my manager knew I was a Stephen King fan, and this is Bag of Bones, which is what he was signing at the time, and my manager got a signed copy which I gave to my brother, and then he also got me this signed proof copy, which quite rare. So I've got that, and those are the things I would really like prioritize trying to save, because they're irreplaceable to me. Everything else is probably replaceable, though I would hate to lose any of it. But yes, so those are the irreplaceable things that I would save if my house was being demolished. And that is only question 1, so I'm going to speed up on these other questions. Vogon Poetry. Quote a poet, a line of poetry or a lyric that you love. This was a hard one for me. I love lyrics and I love music and I love a lot of things, but I don't like, you know, some people have their favourite lines of poetry or favourite, anything by Bowie. And I was thinking about what I would quote from Bowie, and it is from Young Americans. We live for just these 20 years. Do we have to die for 50 more? And that's really about being young and living your life to the fullest, and then as you get older, not doing that. And it's important to keep living life and experiencing life with the excitement of a young person, I think is the meaning of all of that. But anything by Bowie, I love. Some of the lyrics I wanted to quote on here, I won't, because they don't quite fit the spread book joyness of my channel. Number 3, 42, the answer to life, the universe and everything. What is the point? What is the meaning of life? I wish I knew. My sort of focus for life is to always be curious, always be learning, and to be kind, and to try and improve for the brief interactions you may have with people, try and improve their lives, I suppose, be that through a small act of kindness, or just smiling at someone and being polite. Sometimes you might be the first person to smile at that person all day, and so to just think of others and treat other people the way you would want to be treated. And in terms of personal growth, always be interested and fascinated and curious and learning and growing and seeking out new ways to enjoy your life. That for me is probably, is that one meaning or several? I don't know, but that's it. I'll probably think of something now and go, oh no, I should have said this. Number 4, it's radio beginning. What is your favourite memory and your experiences as a listener to the radio? I hardly listen to the radio these days. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I listen to BBC Sounds a lot, but when I was younger, I always had the radio on in the morning. And we also used to listen to the top 40 countdown on a Sunday. That was really, really important to me when I was growing up. And I think for anyone of my age group, the charts, the top 40 charts was really important. We used to sit with a tape and try and record the songs, because we didn't have the money to go out and buy the songs like kids. We used to have to go out and spend our hard-earned money, hard-earned pocket money, whatever it may be, from our little part-time jobs to buy music. Couldn't just turn on YouTube and see it for free. We couldn't, none of that. And so we would get tapes and we would record off of the radio, and we would wish and hope and pray that the DJ would not talk over it. And the other thing we used to do was we used to all listen to, when I was a teenager in London, Capital FM, very commercial. When I was like a young teenager, when I didn't know any better, I would listen to Capital FM, and we would listen to it in the mornings, because the morning shows were always quite funny. And Chris Tarrant used to do the morning show, and I always remember this very clear memory that if I was listening to it and getting ready for school, if he played A Design for Life by Manic Street Preachers, because he played it at the same time every day, I think 8 a.m, I was late. If I heard the first bars of A Design for Life by the Manic Street Preachers, I knew I was late for school. So that was a memory. And the other memory I have is my dad would listen to the Golden Oldies, Capital Gold. On a Sunday morning, he would listen to it really loud, and it was always music from the 60s and 70s, and he would make us all a big fry up, and he would be listening to that really loud. You just hear 60s, 70s music being played from Capital Gold, as it was called then. And also a huge fan of listening to XFM when in my late teens, early 20s. All we listened to was XFM, because that was kind of indie rock station in London, and we loved the Adam and Joe show on XFM. So they're my radio memories. as such as they are. I don't listen to the radio much these days anymore at all, sadly. Now, number 5, the towel. I should have brought a towel. What book or books would you pack for a holiday? I always pack my Kindle, and I always pack at least one physical book because I have a mortal fear of my Kindle breaking or something preventing me from reading my Kindle. I always have audiobooks as well. So I'm not going to say I pack a single book, but I always have multiple choices of book. When I was younger, and I did before the advent of Kindles, I would take about 8 to 10 books on holiday with me if I was going for 2 weeks, just because I wanted some choice as well. Number 6, the Infinite Improbability Drive. Name a fast read. I'm going to name a fast read for you that everybody should read, and I love it. If you like books, if you like reading, and you want a fast read, 84 Charing Cross Road by Helene Hanff. And this is 2 books actually, but the first book, 84 Charing Cross Road, is a series of letters between her and Frank Dole, I think his name was, who was a bookseller in London, and it spans about 20 years of their correspondence with each other, and it's just such an amazing, funny, heartwarming, brilliant read. Heartbreaking, brilliant, loved it. Don't panic. Name a book with great levels of tension or suspense. I couldn't think of one because I'm not really someone who reads a lot of like crime, tension, thriller kind of things, but I thought of one that I read recently that was really tense. That was Cujo by Stephen King. You could probably say quite a lot of tension in a lot of Stephen King's books, but this one stuck out to me because I read it sitting, like, was it New Year's Day or New Year's Eve? I was sitting reading this anyway, and I remember finishing this off. This was the last book I finished of not last year, the year before, and I remember sitting there like, need to finish this book, I need to know what happens, because I'd never watched Cujo or read it, which is crazy because I've read a lot of early Stephen King, I love Stephen King, he's great. But yes, that's very, very tense. And if you're not sure what it's about a dog who, Cujo, who is so lovely, and then Cujo gets bitten and gets rabies. Yeah, it's very tense. TV and film adaptations. Pick a book to discuss. One or more TV or film adaptations that you know of the book. Pick a good and a bad if it's relevant to the book. So many I could have talked about. I suppose what I want to talk about though is one of my favourite, Fellowship of the Ring. I'm going to talk about the adaptations of the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings films. Are amazing. They are amazing. I love them to bits. I think they're fantastic. I return to them. They're comfort watches. But I also want to talk about the Ralph Bakshi version of Lord of the Rings, 1978, 79, I think it was made. And it's a cartoon, and it was done, is it rotoscope, I think was the technique they used, where they had like live action, which was then drawn over. And some of the scenes in the Peter Jackson book, I think, are definitely Jackson film are definitely lifted not from the book but from the Ralph Bakshi. You know the scene in the Inn at the Prancing Pony where the Black Riders are stabbing into the beds? I'm sure that is not from here but more from the Ralph Bakshi film, because that was in there and that used to terrify me as a child. But we loved that version, and for a long, long time that was the only version of the Lord of the Rings that you could watch, and it wasn't finished. They never got the funding to finish it, so it kind of finishes, where does it finish in the stories? Basically it finishes at the end of the Fellowship. So but yeah, Peter Jackson's versions, love them, and I love the Ralph Bakshi version as well. So yeah, if you've never seen it, watch it. If you're a fan of Lord of the Rings, Fellowship of the Ring particularly, I would watch it. It's great. And all that's left to say is to tag someone and say, woohoo, I'm done. I'm not going to tag specific people if you have, because I think Gareth tagged quite a lot of people and he would have tagged people I would tag. So if you like Hitchhiker's Guide and you've got a channel and you want to do the tag you're it. Please do mention Gareth's, go out and check his video out as well. I'll leave the link in the description box. Mention Gareth's original video and his, go and watch it as well if you haven't. It's very good. And if you want to leave me a comment below, let me know how you're doing. If I haven't spoken to you in a while, because I've not been here for a while, let me know how you're getting on. If you want to leave something and you're not sure what to leave, maybe leave me some emojis about the meaning of life for you. Very deep. And hopefully I will see you again here soon. Bye.